Ken Jenkins made history last January when he was sworn in as the first Westchester County executive of African-American descent. And I have to admit that I am your constituent, and that's full disclosure. But I want to talk to you about a problem that politicians throughout the country are dealing with now, and that's immigration and the fact that Westchester has been declared by the Department of Homeland Security as a sanctuary jurisdiction.
Yep.
How are you coping with that?
Well, one, it's not accurate first. I mean, we have an Immigrant Protection Act that was formulated in 2018. So it's been through two President Trump administrations as well as President Biden's administration. It is clear, and it states in its definition, it's not a sanctuary county. It doesn't deal with any civil immigration matters, but law enforcement works with law enforcement all the time on criminal matters, and that is not prohibited in our Immigrant Protection Act.
So in other words, what's happening is that the Westchester County Police and other locality police, the White Plains Police, the Rye Police, et cetera, if there is an immigrant problem, they would work with ICE agents if there was something to work with.
With a criminal matter. So we have so with criminal matters, law enforcement has always worked together to make sure each community is as safe as possible. Our Immigrant Protection Act does not do that. It just says as far as civil immigration matters, the county's not doing the federal government's job. If someone comes in with a judicial warrant, we honor those judicial warrants and we follow the law. But as far as just working with someone in a civil immigration matter, that is not our job to do. We hope our federal law enforcement partners do what they need to do.
See, I was always wondering if localities, because the president not too long ago put out this list and DHS put out this list, threatening to, loss of funds for the localities, if there's any worry on the part of Westchester that this could happen there.
Well, something, our Westchester County Board of Legislators, working with our county attorney, John Nona, are taking the actions to be able to defend our law and to be very clear that it is not a sanctuary county. And that's why, at the end of the day, President Trump and Homeland Security removed that database because it just was wrong. So, again, we work in making sure that every Westchester resident is protected and following the law. So any criminal matters, we're going to follow up with our law enforcement partners to make sure that people are held accountable for any crimes they may have committed.
So I know that in Washington now the big concern is the big beautiful bill, or as the Democrats call it, the big ugly bill. But I wonder, what effect do you think it's going to have in Westchester in terms of things like Medicaid cuts and cuts to SNAP and cuts to hospitals? For
us in Westchester County, our New York State Association of Counties, working with Governor Hochul, have identified the impact for us, $23 million of impact for Westchester County.
$23 million? That's a lot for Westchester.
All federal dollars altogether is $700 million out of our $2.5 billion budget. So for federal, for Medicaid specifically, that $23 million is a combination of loss of benefits as well as administrative costs that are going to be borne by the county pursuant to the law that's being considered right now in Washington.
What are you going to do?
Something what we're going to do is continue to respond and not react. So once we understand what the challenges are, we'll have all of our departments analyze what we need to do and make the modifications necessary. But at the end of the day, there's two choices. You either cut services or raise revenue through taxes, and we've been working really hard to maintain and hold the line on taxes in Westchester County. So that means,
and by the way, I personally appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Marcia, and we're going to keep doing that. But again, the impact is huge, and $6 billion of impact to all of our hospitals. We have world-class hospitals in Westchester County, and we talk through this all the time. The reduction is twofold, right? So if someone's not on Medicaid anymore, they don't even have the insurance, even at a minimum level, that hospital now is going to take that person in the most expensive care possible in an emergency room. And now they're not going to get reimbursed for even that. So now the hospitals are going to be having challenges, which they already are, and people are not going to get served. So again, whether those folks are people that are disabled, people that are seniors and need those services, that is a huge impact for us. And we're hoping both of our congresspeople, and many times I say this, we have Congressman Mike Lawler, who's a Republican, and Congressman George Latimer, the 9th County Executive, who is a Democrat. We're blessed in Westchester to have one of each, right? So what we look at is saying that they should be fighting for the people of Westchester, and we're holding everyone accountable to that, to do that work as best as they can. But at the end of the day, we expect them to be fighting for the people of Westchester. There's 30,000 people in Congressman Lawler's district that would be negatively impacted from a Medicaid cut. So that is not acceptable for us to be able to stand by and sit around and not do anything. We're hoping those congresspeople are fighting as hard as they can.
But Congressman Lawler, as a Republican, is under a lot of pressure from President Trump to support this bill, and partially because he's been the point man on trying to get SALT benefits restored in the bill. So, I mean, how do you feel about him being pressured to support the bill because he was trying to fight so hard to get the SALT benefits restored for people in Westchester?
That's one of the challenges in the jobs that we decided that we wanted to go in. There's no easy answers. The SALT fight, certainly there's positive things that have happened through that with the $40,000 from the SALT taxes, the state and local taxes that have been raised. But in Westchester is another impact because there's a cap on this, on the amount of income that you can make. So we have many people in Westchester that make more than $500,000 a year. And again, they won't be eligible for those same kind of benefits to reduce their taxes. And the same thing is so around the way. The challenge, again, for any of our federal officials, whether it's our U.S. senators or our congresspeople, is that they're having to balance all these things out. And for Westchester, we're hoping that they continue to fight as hard as they can for that. It's really great that there's a uplifting from $10,000 of a deduction to $40,000 in certain communities in Westchester County. That's still not covering the amount of taxes that they pay in many of those communities. And they're not talking about exorbitant houses or anything like that. We just have a lot of services that we provide in Westchester through our state and local taxes. And before, those were 100% deductible or not counted for federal taxes.
So when you go around the county and you talk to people, is that what they talk to you about, SALT?
The real challenge right now is that we have so much polarization that's going on. That's the biggest problem. But when they talk about specific items, they talk about SALT on one side, but they also talk about Medicaid on the other side. These are benefits and Social Security benefits that people have earned. These are not things that are gifts to people. In most of Medicaid folks' cases, 70% of the people are already actually working, and there's a reason that someone is receiving those benefits, and there's no substitute for those kind of things, and that's what the government is really supposed to be working hard on. So when I go around to the county, I'm privileged enough to go through all of Westchester County and hear the different concerns. People are concerned about SALT. They're concerned about Medicaid benefits. They're concerned about veterans that have lost their job and all of the federal employees that may be looking for different opportunities now with cuts. People always understand there's going to be differences in a new administration, but they want to have some consistency, not chaos and confusion. And in Westchester, we try to manage with stability, competence, and civility.
What about the closing of the White Plains office for Social Security? That's having a big impact on older people who live in the county.
The impact, and again, the real impact for that hearing office was not that they couldn't get benefits and they couldn't talk to someone. You don't have to, you shouldn't have to be an expert in technology to get on a Zoom or something like that to fight for the benefits you're entitled to. And again, what this does is it makes it inconvenient, and it means that some people will not get the services and benefits that they're entitled to, right? And that's one of the challenges that we continue to face as a government, and that it's in every level. But to make sure that to have an inconvenience of saying to people, you need to go down into the Bronx or up to Albany or into Connecticut to have the benefits that you fought so hard to get, is unconscionable and it's unacceptable. And all of our congresspeople, both Congressman Lawler and Congressman Latimer, fought with us to try to have that happen. The people at the federal level in the department were really like, oh, well, we don't think we need your help. We offered them space in any of our county office buildings to continue that service, so it would not have cost them more. They just chose not to continue that service. And that's where the challenge is right now. It's painful and hurtful instead.
Thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it right there for now.